I'm going to go ahead and get going here. Okay, so everybody, welcome. My name is James Ketchum, head of the Soundboard team at Edge Theory. I assume that you're here because you're a Soundboard subscriber. Our purpose tonight is to talk through our new newsletter feature that we've rolled out to Soundboard subscribers. So we're going to tackle this in kind of three major steps. Step one is going to be putting in your contacts into the newsletter contact management system so that obviously you can send it out to people. The second piece that we're going to look at is what's the best way to get your contacts into the Soundboard, because my understanding is that the virtual office does not have a one-click export button where it will put all your contacts and emails and all their information into a spreadsheet form. So we've got to work around that limitation. Then the third thing we're going to talk about is how to create the newsletter itself. So again, feel free to ask questions as we go, and I'll definitely pause to answer those. So we're here, we're logged into the Soundboard. The first thing that we need to do is to create our contact list. So we're going to click on this icon at the top right here, and we get this drop down. Now this part of it, the steps must be done on your desktop. We do not have a way to import contacts from your phone, so please do this part on your computer. So the first thing we want to start with here is our contact lists. So I've already been making some example lists here, but when you come to this screen, you're going to not have any, obviously. And so you've got an add list button here. So there's a couple of different ways to think about your contact lists. If you want to organize your customers and maybe your team and maybe people who you want to be customers into separate topical groups, you can do that. And I've named them here, for example. So we've got some different customers that are enrolled in our Juice Plus Children's Health Study. We've got some vegan customers, some busy moms, some CrossFit people. If you want to subdivide it that much, you can. You do not have to. But if you want to send different newsletters to different interest groups, you can. Or if you just want to throw them all in one bucket, whatever you want to do. You can decide. So we're going to add lists here. We're going to name our contact list so that we can keep it straight. So let's name this our Tower Garden customers. Okay, so I want to put these as active customers who own Tower Gardens. Now this field is mandatory. This field is not. All right, so then we create this, and we are now looking at our named Tower Garden customer list. So these are our contacts that we want to group by that particular topic. So there's two ways to do it. If you hit the add contact button, this will do it one at a time. So let's do our friend Tower Garden, who works with me at edgetheory.com, and then we're going to name him. That's me. So we're going to create this contact, and so now he's here. Now you can see if you have 2,500 contacts, this is a little unwieldy. So we now want to look at how we go about importing contacts. So when we hit this button, we get this nice little pop-up that says you may import many contacts at the same time using a CSV file. If you are not familiar with a CSV file, it is simply a spreadsheet format. You know, when you're using Microsoft Excel, it usually outputs it or saves it as an XLS file. Microsoft can save it as a CSV file. It's simply the most basic spreadsheet file that exists. All right, and this also tells us the importer reads an optional header row, and it will look for columns named email and name. And if you don't name your columns, it assumes that the first column is email and the second is name. Okay, so but before we can hit this import contacts button, we've got to create a CSV file to import here. Okay, and so here's where I want to show you, I think, the simplest way to get your contacts out of the virtual office and into a spreadsheet. Now, there's a couple of different things you can use for this. Of course, if you've got Microsoft Excel, I prefer Google Docs. I use them on a daily basis, and I think they're super easy. If you're a Mac user and you want to use numbers, all of those things, you can save it as a CSV file, which we'll get to here in a minute. But let's hop over here to Google Docs, where I have set up my blank spreadsheet. It's here. It's ready to receive the data that we're going to dump into it. So now I do not have access to the virtual office because I'm not a rep. But what I want to show you is how to get a bunch of information and copy and paste it into our blank spreadsheet here. Okay, so I'm actually going to go to a fake Soundboard account that I have set up that has a bunch of names and emails and other stuff in it to show you how you can go about doing this. All right, so we're going to hop over here. Well, it logged me out. Oops. We're going to go over here to my fake Soundboard. And find some users here. Okay, so when you're looking at your virtual office, you're probably looking at something like this, which is name, email address, and maybe some other information that may be helpful to you, but is not helpful to our spreadsheet. But here's what we're going to do. I'm literally going to just click and drag my cursor over this information as much as we need to. We can scroll down. And now that all of this is highlighted, I'm going to copy this text. Okay, so on Mac, that is a Command C. On Windows, you hold Control and hit C. So that copies it to our clipboard. And now we're going to come over here to our spreadsheet that's ready and waiting, and we're going to paste that right into our fields. Okay, so we have copied and pasted, and paste on Mac is Command V as in Victor, and then Windows it's Control V. So let's spend just a moment here cleaning up our dummy spreadsheet that's full of bogus email addresses, but yours won't be. So first of all, we've got our nice name and email column just as we want. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up as much as possible. So we want to delete any extra rows. And then all of this information over here is not helpful to our contacts. So the virtual office might import some information that you don't need as well. All you have to do is delete these columns. Okay, oops, I need to do it like this. Let's delete them all at once. So I'm just right-clicking on this to get all this nice pop-up, and we're going to delete all this information because we don't care about any of that. So now we have our nice clean name column and our email column sitting in our spreadsheet that we have copied and pasted from our virtual office, right? Okay, so now we got to name it. And I'm a data nerd, and I put dates on everything. So we're going to name this mail import 7/25/17. And now, remember, we've got to get it in a CSV format. So when I'm looking at Google Docs, or if you're looking at Excel and you want to save it, whatever you're looking at, it's going to let you have a few different formats. Okay, so of course, Microsoft Excel typically wants to save it as an XLS file. I don't know what Numbers does off the top of my head, but here is our choice that we want, a CSV file. So when we click this, it's going to save that to our downloads folder. And now we have all of this ready to be imported into our contact manager on the newsletter. All right, I know this is kind of weird, but I promise this is the best way to do this. Does anybody have any questions about doing that? I know it takes a minute for you to type your questions into the chat feature. But again, the whole point of this is to take text that we need and literally just copy and paste it off the screen and not worry about trying to find a nice way to export it to a CSV, because the virtual office doesn't do that. So we just copy and paste it, put it in here. All right, I don't see any questions coming through, so I'm going to keep going. So now we're back at our Tower Garden customer list that we want to populate. We're going to hit this import button. Oh, here's a question. Where did you click to paste into the spreadsheet? Jim asks. So I just clicked to paste it right here in A1, and that dropped everything in. And I think it did actually put an extra row at the very top, but we just deleted that row. So we didn't need it. So now we're ready to import our contacts. Okay, so this is going to bring up our file. So we put it in the downloads folder. That's where Mac hides everything. And so here we have the document, mail import 72517. And so we're going to click open here. It takes a few seconds. It's a nice big document. The biggest one I've ever done. Okay, while that's going, one person asked, can I do this on my iPad? You cannot do this part of this on your iPad because, wait, is that accurate? I'm pretty sure you can't, because the iPad does not let you download a CSV file and save it to the hard drive of the iPad. Okay, you can create a spreadsheet on the iPad, but the iPad does not have a way for you to hit this button right here and go retrieve a file from the iPad's operating system. I hope that's clear. Christy asked, how did you save it as a CSV? So when we're on Google Docs, file, and then we want to download it as, and then we selected CSV here. If you're on Excel, I'll pull up Excel real quick here. I was looking at some nerdy stuff. So when you click file here, you do save as, and then when you want to save it as something, I'm looking at Mac. Of course, Windows is going to look different. But your format is what you want to look for. And you have all of these format choices to save the file. So you want to make sure it's checked as CSV. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so I thought I saw in the background something happened. All right, so let's try this one. This one was earlier today. And it might be that it doesn't like this. I'm trying to run my work network in the background here, and it might be that it doesn't like that one bit. Okay, there we go. So we've imported our, I did that a little fast, sorry. So when you import here, you push import contacts, and again, this brings up whatever file structure you've got, and then I just click this, which was the most recent one that we had made. And then that, you can see it brought everything in nice name. And of course, I have a lot of test accounts in here, so the names look wonky. But the name and email address of all these people have been brought in. So our list of Tower Garden customers is now populated. Okay? That's the hard part. What we're going to do next is the easy part. But anybody else have any questions on the list management side of this? And as you're thinking and typing, if you manage your contacts through something like Google Contacts or iCloud or something like that, those things do have an export feature when you can literally click one button and it will make a nice clean spreadsheet for you. And then you can delete everything except the name and email columns. It'll spit out phone numbers and addresses and all that stuff that you've got tied to your contacts. but you can just delete all that stuff. All right, so now we are looking at we've got all these different contact lists now. So we can start preparing a newsletter for one of these lists. Okay, so that's the next step. We're going to go back to the top here and we're going to click on newsletters. So I have a bunch of them that I've made for testing. So some of mine are in draft state, but when you come here, obviously you're not going to have anything. And then some of them have been sent out on these particular days. So to start this off, we're going to create a new newsletter. First of all, we got to figure out who we want to send it to. So this is why we had to do the contact list thing first. We want to send this to our Tower Garden customers. Who do we want this to come from? All right, so we want this to be clearly recognized as us. And what email address do we want this to come from? So this looks like a very personal, direct thing that somebody is receiving from us. It's not from, some corporate conglomerate or anything like that. It's not going to hit anybody's spam folder. And now we need to title it. What do we want to be at the top of the newsletter? Okay, so this is going to be in the big text at the top. This is aimed at our Tower Garden customers, so let's call this one Urban Gardening News to Know. Now these are the only mandatory fields here, but we've got a couple other fields. If you want to put something in, you can. At the top, if you want to put some kind of logo or image, you can either find a web link for an image, or you can just drop in an image that you have saved on your computer. Okay, so I know I don't have a Tower Garden image on my computer at the moment. So I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to search for a cool Tower Garden image. This one's great right here, towergarden.com. Now what I'm going to do is a little trickery here. You have two choices. I just right-clicked on it, and you can save the image as, and that will actually download it to your computer, which you can re-upload, or you can do this, copy image address, and that will copy to our clipboard the web address for this picture. And then we just paste that in there. And when we get to our creation stage, you'll see that it'll just go out and grab that image from the website. Okay, so that's kind of like the lazy way to do it. But either way works. Now we have two more fields that we want to think about. We have two places where we can personalize text in the email, and this will become a little more apparent as we go. But you can put a personalized message in above where the articles are going to land, and then a body of text below where the articles are going to land. Okay, so I'm going to put in, can you imagine an easier way to grow your green leafy veggies this summer? And I'm going to say, thanks for reading. So this, remember, this is going to happen at the very end. And so this is kind of our parting message. And I'm going to say, don't forget, the next Shred 10 starts August 7th. Okay, too many exclamation points. All right, so let's create this thing. So what happens is when we create, it brings us to the breadcrumb trail. Now we can hop back and forth and make adjustments to any of these things that we want to at any point before we send it out. Okay, so we've got all this set. We've got our name, email, title, image, and our upper text and our lower text. So let's go ahead and save and continue from here. And now this is where we begin to add our articles. This says it's best to have 3 to 5. You can add more than that, and I'll show you how to kind of play with it. But we want to search. This is aimed at our Tower Garden customers. So I know this would be a good one. But if you want to preview it at any point, you can click anywhere but the Add to Newsletter button, and it'll bring up a preview of the article so you can give it a spin and see if it's something that you want in there. Okay. I actually don't know if you can grow wheatgrass on a tower garden. I'm going to go ahead and throw it in here. Why not? All right, so you can scroll if you want. This one was a great one, the micro farm. Or we can just look for things by topic, okay? So we can search for things by words, and then again, we can preview those things here. This one was really cool about an urban agricultural plan coming to the Bronx, separate from what Stephen Ritz is doing. Growing the perfect fall pumpkin from the Tower Garden site. Another urban gardening article about what's going on in Hong Kong. I don't know why it didn't refresh the image there, but we want to add this one. Okay, so you can keep going on and on and on like this. I'm going to throw a few more articles in here just to show you what it looks like if you have a bunch, okay? So now we've added 8 articles. If at any point, if you want to remove, you can, obviously. And now we're ready to preview the article, okay? So this brings us to what this is exactly going to look like once this email hits your recipient's inbox. So there's our Tower Garden image that we found on the web. Here's our title. Here's the body of our upper body of the text. Now notice we've got a couple of things here. We've got 3 different themes, layouts that you can pick from. So the full size one is actually going to make each article this nice big blown up thing. It's got the title, a little bit of text from the article, and then of course if they hit read more, they'll get taken to the actual article which they can read. Now what happens is when you pick this full size layout is each image is a nice big blown up box. And so if most of your readers are on mobile, this may be a good solution if you just put 3 or 4 articles in. But remember, we put 8, and so that's kind of a lot of scrolling. So we can play with this and switch our theme here. So if we switch it to 2 column, what it's going to do is it's still going to keep this first article big, and then it puts all the rest of the articles side by side like this. And then since we have an even number, it finishes it out by putting the last single article here big again. And then here's our parting text at the end. Of course, you can make that as long as you want. And if you are, if you know how to write HTML, you can put whatever you want from an HTML perspective and make that, manipulate that. The third is the Warhol layout, which is going to be, again, that first one's going to be big. Then we do 3 where we do a back-to-back and we bounce the image back and forth like this, so it goes left, right, left on the images. And then all the rest of the articles will be here in text form, okay? So you can just play with that, whatever you think is the most attractive. It's always going to be dependent on how many articles you pick. But if you pick more than 5, I would recommend one of these, this second or third layout. Okay, so then you can send yourself a test email if you want to. You don't ever have to, but if you want to, it'll go right to that address, and then you can check your inbox and see what it's going to look like. You can check it on mobile if you want to, but it's pretty much going to look exactly like you see it here, okay? And then you're ready to send email. So when you click send, one more reminder is going to come up. Who's it going to? If you need to adjust your list or add to it, you can. Who's it coming from? And then what's the subject line? By default, it's going to pull whatever we put in the title. But if you want to change that, you can. And then all the articles are here. Okay, Jessica asked, are you able to change the order of the articles after you've selected them? So at the moment, Jessica, we do not have a drag and drop. We're working on that. If you see something at the top that you don't want, you don't have to start all the way over. But if you want to move it to the bottom, basically you can remove it from the top here and then add it to the newsletter, and it'll put it back at the bottom. So if there's one at the top that you really don't like the image, but you want it in there, that's probably the easiest thing to do right now. But again, we are working on a drag and drop for that. You are welcome. All right, so we're back at the preview. So at this point, we're just going to send it. Okay, so I'm going to send it to all those bad email addresses that I came up with for test purposes. And then after you click send, it's going to bring you to the screen. So it's going to tell you how many it's sent. And then it's going to offer you a few stats about the email, which you're going to get an open percentage. So how many people clicked to open it, how many people clicked on an article once they got it or once they opened it, and then if you had a bad email address in there, which if we came back and checked on this in 20 minutes, we'd probably have 100% on my particular list that I made of fake email addresses to show you how this works. But when you come now to newsletters, you can go back and see the stats on all of your past emails. So see, each of these are still in draft state. They were tests that I was playing with and didn't send them. But then we can go back to previous emails and it'll bring us right back here and give us those. It'll keep a running tally on those stats. So we're also working on some more detail for this, but for now, at least you're kind of getting a sense of your readership and what's going on with interest level, I guess. So that's the mechanics of how to do this. I guess the only other thing I wanted to address was the why. You know, we all get a ton of emails. Why do something like this? From our perspective, it's all about customer care. It's all about staying in front of people. It's all about finding different ways to touch people. Yes, there are people out there in your customer base who, if you look at their email inbox, it's got 12,942 emails in it because they just get so much junk that they don't ever take the time to filter, and they probably miss a lot. So they might not see your email. But that is not, I think, the majority of how most of us operate. And it's kind of funny how we've come so full circle in the past 10, 12, 15 years where, you know, everybody wanted to totally abandon email for a while and move everything to social media. And then that got so overwhelming because there's so many platforms out there that a lot of us have returned back to email for business and specifically signing up for the information that we care about and want to see. And so I would say, you know, just give it a try. Let your customers. I have seen a lot of folks over the past couple of weeks on Facebook posting into, I'm the member of so many team groups and customer groups. They'll just post and say, hey, who wants to know more about keeping your kids fit, healthy, and active this summer? Would you like to receive more information? And they're kind of throwing it out there into their customer base to see who's interested in what topics, and they're generating their contact lists based on that. Or just send it to everybody and say, hey, you'll be hearing from me, you know, twice a month. I want to keep you up to speed on things that are going on in the world of health and nutrition because you're interested, because you're a Juice Plus customer. So that, of course, is all up to you. But I think ultimately this is hopefully a positive thing for you. We tried to make it as simple as possible. I know the context part of it is there's not a one-click solution to make that super simple. But once you do get your contact lists set up on your computer, these are all just sitting here, and you can build a newsletter on your mobile device. So the newsletter construction part of it works really well on mobile. And then in just a few clicks, you've got some good-looking stuff going out, you know, on a new platform and a new way to get in front of people. So that is all I had to say about that. But I certainly want to take a little bit more time if anybody has any thoughts, questions, comments, postcards from the edge, anything that wasn't clear. Anybody have any ideas on what they'd like to see in a future update for this, et cetera, et cetera? Okay, Molly, sounds good. I believe in you. You can do it on your own. If you have any further questions, I'm on Voxer. I'll just go ahead and type it here. Vox me. My email address is here, and again, I will be posting this to YouTube here momentarily, and I will drop that YouTube link on the Healthy Living Soundboard Facebook page and on that Voxer group, and that's probably be the first two places. So if you want to share those, or share this recording with anybody else on your team that you know is a Soundboard user, be happy to do that. Okay, so the customer lists remain on the Healthy Living account page. Yes, they are going to stay here. And as you are updating contact lists, at any point, if you want to change something or delete a contact out, nope. Having a little hiccup here. Let me refresh. Oh, weird. So once your contacts are in here, we can't see them. I can't see them on my end. So I would say don't worry about that. If at any point you want to delete somebody out of a list, you can come to that list. You hit X. They disappear. It says, you sure you want to remove your contact? Okay. They're gone. If you want to delete a list, you can hit Edit and then hit Delete, and that whole list is gone. And then it will give you the option to bring it back at some point if you want to, but you don't have to. But they will sit here as long as your account is open and active until you choose to delete them. But again, it's not like you're passing them on to where we can see them. We can't. Jessica asked, will this include images only that are available on Soundboard or all the Shred 10 stuff? Yes, every single thing that is on the Soundboard is available to be used in a newsletter, whether it's Shred 10 images, Healthy Living Revolution, the mission-driven model stuff that we make. It's all there. And when you're in the newsletter feature, and you're in that add articles section, let me pull up one of these drafts here. When you're in the articles section here, you can just search for Shred 10, and all that stuff's going to be here. This is all the videos and all those images and all that stuff. Well, should be. Huh. Let's see if we can just search like that. Anyway, yeah, you can find it all by searching. I'll do a little homework on why that didn't pop up, because all that Shred 10 stuff is sitting here. I haven't taken any of it down, so it's all there. That's weird that it wasn't coming up because everything is listed as Shred 10. Mental note, I'll look in on that. Chrissy asks, can a person be in more than one list? Yes, a person can be in as many lists as you want them to be. Jessica asked, do customers have the option to unsubscribe? So it's a little convoluted. We're working on that. There is an unsubscribe button at the bottom, but the notification comes to us actually at the moment, not to you. And so one of my tasks will be to pass that notification on to you if you do get that. But we're trying to route those to you. But why would someone want to unsubscribe? I mean, my goodness, you are providing such a resource here, such a great source of information. They don't have to read it, but you're thinking about them. You are customer service expert. You are. All right, anybody else? Thoughts, comments, questions? That's right. All right, I'll give you one more minute to type, and then I'm gonna shut her down for the night. I know my battery says 44%, but don't trust it. Don't trust it. All right, happy to do it. Okay, Chrissy asked, do the newsletters remain on the website? Yep, the newsletters will stay there for perpetuity. And the reason is, again, so that you can go back and check the stats on any of them at any point. So this one was a test one that I set up, but you can scroll and you can actually see, you know, what you had previously sent out, stuff like that. So they'll all be there under that section. Okay, cool. All right, well, thanks everybody for joining. Have a wonderful evening. Godspeed you on your way to wherever you are going next. I hope to bed.